The United Nations Shipping Agency says that vessels have been sailing through the Strait of Hormuz under a new evacuation plan. A spokesperson for the International Maritime Organization declined to provide further details on the vessels other than confirming that they are in transit. Insurance company Allianz estimates over 1,000 ships remain in the Persian Gulf waiting to pass. Allianz said that the bottleneck is impacting as many as 20,000 crew members and $125 billion in cargo. Matthew Wright is lead freight analyst at Kepler, joining us from Bath in the UK. Thank you so much for your time. How encouraged are you about this news that some stranded ships have begun to passage through the strait?
Yeah, very encouraged. I think this step that the UN and the IMO are taking is necessary and it's important. I mean, since the MOU was signed last week, we've already seen a big jump in the number of vessels leaving the region. And in fact, in terms of just looking at pure commodity vessels on the Kepler platform, we're down significantly. We've dropped by about 200 or 300 vessels in the last couple of weeks. Of course, there's container vessels, there's passenger vessels, but majority of the vessels that are coming in will be container vessels and primarily tankers. And the number is actually lower than it would be under normal trading circumstances. But of course, we've had seafarers trapped within the Mideast Gulf for 3 months now. So we're going to see the number of vessels operating within the Mideast Gulf drop well below normal levels for a period of time until we start to see a more normalization there.
And I'm wondering what your vessel tracking data is showing amid this UN effort, and how exactly these temporary navigation routes will work. I mean, how do they differ from the traditional shipping lanes?
Yeah, absolutely. So the normal shipping lane is sort of the IMO approved route, which is called the TSS, the Traffic Separation Scheme. And this is 2 lanes of traffic through the middle of the Strait of Hormuz. And what this is a sort of, there's an entry channel and exit channel, and this is right through the middle. You can have quite a heavy amount of traffic via that route. The routes that they're discussing are one route to the south, hugging the Omani coast, and another northerly sort of in and around the Iranian islands to the north. The reason for this is there is still a lot of ambiguity and uncertainty around whether the IMO route has mines. We're still waiting for more confirmation, but there was some reported information from an insurance provider last week that perhaps there was a mine sighting. As a result, they're being very cautious and encouraging ship owners to take these routes. The navigational issues here are quite important. The TSS route, the traditional route taken through the middle, can take a large number of vessels. These other routes are close to the shoreline. The sea is not as deep there, and also they're having to sort of make sharper turns. Fundamentally, it's just not a sustainable plan long term. But understandably, for the time being, this is an important step in terms of getting vessels out of the region.
You highlighted a number of risks there: landmines, also the general physical barriers that might be present as well. How much confidence do ship owners have in the safety guarantees as well that the UN and the International Maritime Organization says that they have secured?
Yeah, they will do. I mean, I think it's more of an encouraging step that they're being supported. They're being helped out of the region. They absolutely can't do anything about a potential Iranian attack. So they have to just hope that the deal between Iran and the US will be stable and go from there. What they will, this is an important step. This is, having an international body help organize an orderly exit from the region. I think that will give them confidence on its own.
Can you give us a sense of what type of ships have been stranded? I mean, were we talking mostly about oil tankers here, LNG carriers, container ships, bulk carriers? What are we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, it's all of the above. The vast majority will be tankers. Ordinarily, you've got about 400 or 500 tankers in the Mideast Gulf on any particular day pre-war. And then you've got about maybe 200 dry bulk vessels. And then there's a number of other, you maybe have sort of maybe up to 50 LNG vessels. So there's a big variance, but the vast majority are tankers. And they're the ones that are, it is the loss of a lot of the oil and LNG and these commodities that has really shocked the global economy.
How do you see the significance of the UN IMO evacuation program? It appears to be more of a humanitarian operation for stranded seafarers. Is that correct? Or are we also talking about a commercial reopening?
It's a bit of both. I mean, fundamentally, it's about it's a humanitarian effort but it's also a necessary step in terms of just getting the cogs and the fundamentals of this strait moving again. A lot of the vessels are laden with cargoes, so there is a commercial aspect. You know, we've got like hundreds of millions of barrels of oil that will be exiting and that will go on to then destinations. So there is a commercial angle. But, you know, I think, you know, first and foremost, these vessels need to exit. You know, owners need to there needs to be a crew change. You know, this is all going to take a lot of time. But what I think is interesting is this evacuation plan is going to prioritize exits from the Strait of Hormuz, not necessarily entrances. And as we mentioned, with these alternative routes, they cannot sort of manage a significant amount of traffic as it is. That we're up to around 40 transits per day in and out. With this, we don't know at the moment how many the UN, the IMO are planning to use for an exit. But what it means is we'll have fewer vessels entering, able to reload, so that the commercial angle is going to be sort of put on hold potentially for a little while.
Matthew Wright, thank you so much. Now, Indian citizens make up around 1/8 of the people working on merchant vessels around the world. Lots of them are stuck on ships trapped by the closure of the Strait of Hormuz after the war in Iran broke out. Some ships came under attack with deadly consequences. DW correspondent Adil Bhatt spoke with a survivor of one attack and another crew member's family who's in mourning.
Sushila Devi is still grieving. Her husband Shivanand Chaurasia was killed when a U.S. strike hit the tanker he was working on in the Gulf of Oman. A fitter by profession, he had spent years training for a career at sea, hoping to build a better future for his family.
They stole all my happiness. It was America who killed my husband. That's why Mr. Modi and the state's chief minister are silent. They should have stood up for their people and should have asked why they did this. It's been 8 days. At least we should get my husband's body.
The wait for answers and for the return of his body has been agonizing for the family. They sold land and took out loans to help Shivanand build a career at sea. Now, with their main breadwinner gone, that future looks uncertain.
My brother's death is so painful. I don't feel like living anymore because the family has lost its one and only beacon of hope. All hell has broken loose. Who's there for us now? He was our sole provider.
As this family grieves, they're also searching for answers about circumstances of the strike and waiting for Shivanand Chaurasia's body to be returned home. But their loss is being felt far beyond this village. Elsewhere in India, other families are mourning loved ones who left home to earn a living at sea and never returned. India is one of the world's largest suppliers of seafarers, with hundreds of thousands serving on merchant ships operating through the Gulf. Since the conflict between the US and Iran escalated, at least 7 Indian seafarers have been killed in strikes on commercial vessels. For those who survived, the memory hasn't faded. On the 1st of March, Bhumesh was on the bridge of the tanker Skylight when it came under attack. What began as a routine morning shift quickly became a fight for survival.
When they attacked, I immediately thought of my parents. I didn't know whether I would survive. I kept thinking about how they would cope without me.
There was panic all around and desperate effort began to rescue those trapped on the bridge. Bhumesh was one of them and he was hurt. These calls for help echoed through the vessel, but there was no response. Moments later, the captain and other Indian sailor were confirmed dead. For Bhumesh, it was a narrow escape, but he says the trauma of that day has stayed with him.
After the attack, my mental health became very bad. For the 3 weeks I was on the ship, I could not sleep at all. It felt as though a chapter of my life had ended. It felt like the end of my life.
Today, Bhumesh lives in a rented room on the outskirts of Delhi and works as a driver. More than 3 months later, he's still seeking compensation from the shipping company.
I don't understand why we have become enemies in this war and why seafarers are being attacked. We don't go to sea to fight, but to work and to earn a livelihood.
For Seafarer Union, the attacks have raised urgent questions about the safety of seafarers working in conflict zones.
It's a serious concern. Seafarers lost their life for what they have nothing to do with. Why they got attacked. In spite of knowing there are foreign nationals having no concern with the Iran, whether vessel is moving towards Iran, so they might hit the forecastle also. That casualty can be avoided.
The deaths have triggered a political storm in India. After 3 sailors were killed, New Delhi lodged what it called a strong protest with a senior US diplomat. The opposition accused the government of doing too little and questioned Prime Minister Modi's silence. At the G7 summit in France, Modi raised the issue directly with President Trump.
You know that hundreds of thousands of Indian seafarers are working across maritime trade routes. They're making world trade and progress possible. In my understanding, their safety must be of utmost importance.
Back in the village, the diplomacy feels a long way off. Shivanand's brother Ram Parvesh is busy desperately calling authorities, just trying to get his brother's body home.
All the villagers are in full solidarity. Everyone is anxious to have the body back and think of something else.
As day passed, the wait finally ended. Shivanand Chaurasia's body has returned home. Villagers gathered to pay their respects before his final rites. An interim agreement between the United States and Iran may offer hope that tensions in the region will ease, but for families like the Chaurasias, that hope has come too late. Their loss is already permanent.